There's one word that can change the way you see your entire life. It won't remove your problems. It won't make your responsibilities disappear. It won't erase your past, but it can change the way you carry all of it. And sometimes that change in perspective makes all the difference. Welcome to the Way of Permanent Transformation. I'm your host, Stanley Bronstein. Today we're talking about concept number 6 from the Way of Excellence, changing our perspective. And the word we're talking about today is very simple. That word is get, not have, get. Because there's a major difference between saying, I have to do this, and saying, I get to do this. That may sound small, but it's not small. It's a shift in perspective, and perspective changes everything. Most people walk through life carrying a very heavy list. I have to go to work. I have to exercise. I have to eat better. I have to take care of my family. I have to pay my bills. I have to deal with this problem. I have to make this change. No wonder people feel exhausted. When everything is framed as something you have to do, life starts to feel like one long obligation, one long burden, one long list of demands. But concept number 6 asks us to look at life differently. Until number 6 from the concept says, until we change our perspective and realize that everything we give and everything we receive in life is a privilege, we will never achieve our maximum potential and evolve as a species. That's a big statement. Everything we give, everything we receive is a privilege, not an obligation, a privilege. Now, that doesn't mean everything is easy. That doesn't mean everything is pleasant. That doesn't mean every responsibility feels good. Some responsibilities are hard. Some seasons are painful. Some burdens are real. Perspective doesn't mean lying to yourself. The way of excellence begins with telling it like it is. So if something is hard, tell it like it is. If something hurts, tell it like it is. If something is uncertain, tell it like it is. But then ask a better question. Is this only a burden? Or is there also a privilege hidden inside it? You may say, I have to wake up early and exercise. But another way to say it is, I get to wake up today. I get to move my body. I get to take care of my health. That doesn't make exercise easy, but it changes the spirit in which you approach it. You may say, I have to go to work. But another way to say it is, I get to go to work. I get to contribute. I get to earn money. I get to serve. And if your work isn't what you want it to be, then maybe you also get to tell the truth about that and begin moving towards something better. You may say, I have to take care of my family. But another way to say it is, I get to love people. I get to serve people. I get to be there for someone. One day you may miss the very things you're complaining about today. That's not said to create guilt, it's said to create perspective. A change in perspective doesn't always change the facts. It changes what the facts mean to you. Two people can look at the same situation and see two different worlds. One sees only burden, the other sees responsibility, growth, meaning, and privilege. One sees a problem, the other sees a challenge. One sees an ending, the other sees a turning point. One sees the past as a prison, the other sees the past as a teacher. That's perspective. And in the way of excellence, perspective matters because the way you see your life affects the way you live your life. Law number 6, the law of perspective says, sometimes life requires a change in perspective. One's previous life challenges have made them into the person they are today and given them the potential to develop a fuller perspective as a result, provided they learn from said experiences and move on, as opposed to dwelling on them and looking back. In plain English, that means learn from your past, but don't live there. The past is a powerful teacher, but it's a terrible home. You can visit the past for wisdom. You can visit the past for understanding. You can visit the past to see what happened, what mattered, what hurt, what worked, what failed, and what needs to change. But you can't build your future while living permanently in yesterday. There's a difference between learning from the past and dwelling in the past. Learning gives you wisdom. Dwelling keeps you stuck. Learning says, what's the lesson? Dwelling says, why did this happen to me? Learning says, what do I do now? Dwelling says, I'll never get past this. One helps you move forward, the other keeps you looking backward. This is especially important when it comes to regret. Many people aren't just remembering the past, they're still arguing with it. They're still trying to change what can't be changed. They're still punishing themselves for choices they made years ago. They're still replaying conversations that ended long ago. That's not freedom. That's not transformation. And it's not excellence. You may not be able to change what happened, but you can change how you relate to what happened. You can tell the truth about it. You can learn from it. You can grieve it. You can forgive where forgiveness is needed. You can take responsibility for what's yours. You can release what's not yours. And eventually you can move forward. Not because the past didn't matter, but because your future still matters too. Now, the same thing is true with the future. The future matters. Long-term thinking matters. Preparation matters. Vision matters. But there's a difference between thinking about the future and living in anxiety about the future. Worrying doesn't take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. A person who worries before it's necessary worries more than is necessary. That doesn't mean you should ignore danger. It doesn't mean you should fail to prepare. But excess worry only pretends to be useful. Most of the time, it burns energy without solving the problem. Perspective says, learn from the past, prepare for the future, but live now. Because now is where life is happening. Now is where choices are made. Now is where responsibility is practiced. Now is where discipline is built. Now is where transformation happens. Not yesterday, not someday, now. So here's the practical shift. Take your have to list and rewrite it. Not in your head, but on paper. Write down 5 things you believe you have to do. Then cross out the words I have to and replace them with I get to. I get to move my body. I get to eat better. I get to go to work. I get to have the hard conversation. I get to forgive. I get to start again. I get to take responsibility. I get to tell the truth. I get to improve my life. Then ask yourself, what privilege is hidden inside this responsibility? That's the question. Not every answer will come easily. Some will, some won't. But the practice matters because the more often you do this, the more you train yourself to see things differently. And when you see things differently, you begin to live differently. This also changes how we think about the earlier concepts of the way of excellence. We don't have to tell it like it is. We get to tell it like it is. We don't have to think long term. We get to think long term. We don't have to stop blaming. We get to stop blaming. We don't have to embrace change. We get to embrace change. We don't have to focus on the possible. We get to focus on the possible. That's the power of perspective. The work may be the same, but the meaning changes. And when the meaning changes, your willingness often changes with it. A person who sees discipline as punishment will resist it. A person who sees discipline as privilege will eventually respect it. A person who sees responsibility as blame will avoid it. A person who sees responsibility as power will begin to use it. A person who sees change as threat will fear it. A person who sees change as possibility will begin to move. A person who sees life as a burden will drag themselves through it. A person who sees life as privilege will begin to participate in it more fully. Again, this doesn't mean life is easy. It means life is valuable. And that's a very different way to live. Benefit number 6 from the way of excellence is called living in a world of privilege. It says, by incorporating law number 6, the law of perspective, into our lives, we will be creating a society where everything becomes a privilege and nothing is an obligation. We will be creating a society where everyone is encouraged to help each other and to care for each other. That's the larger vision. This isn't only about making your personal to-do list feel better. It's about becoming the kind of person who sees life differently. When you see your own life as a privilege, you're more likely to respect it. When you see other people as a privilege, you're more likely to respect them and to care for them. When you see service as a privilege, you're more likely to help. When you see time as a privilege, you're less likely to waste it. When you see your body as a privilege, you're more likely to take care of it. Perspective changes behavior, and behavior changes life. So today, do something simple. Pay attention to your language. Every time you hear yourself say, I have to, stop, pause, and ask, do I really have to, or do I get to? Maybe you still choose to do the same thing, but now you're doing it from a different place. Less resentment, more gratitude. Less heaviness, more responsibility. Less obligation, more privilege. That one word won't solve every problem, but it can open a door. It can help you see the same life through a different lens. And sometimes that's where permanent transformation begins. Not when life changes first, but when you do. If this message speaks to you, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. New videos are released on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you can learn more or contact me on my website, thewayofexcellence.com.